I think I've spent so long waiting for it all to begin, for life to really start, that I missed out on what it was really all about. Holly Jackson, not quite dead yet. This is Audiobook Review. I'm your host, Jacob Shymanski. Holly Jackson is the British author behind the young adult mega hit, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. A series I thought was well deserving of the critical praise and commercial success that it got. It's nothing revolutionary by any means. It's just an accessible, tightly plotted, good old-fashioned, entertaining as hell murder mystery. It ended up getting picked up by Netflix, which boosted Holly Jackson's profile even higher. And after, she's tacked on a few standalone books to that series, but her latest book, Not Quite Dead Yet, is her first venture outside of the young adult genre, allegedly. But I'll tell you right now, if you liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, you'll feel right at home with Not Quite Dead Yet, even though it's allegedly not YA. And to be fair, this thing has an amazing premise. So Jet is the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in town, and on Halloween night, she gets attacked and suffers a catastrophic head injury. And while she didn't die, the doctors tell her that the damage in her brain primes her to have a fatal aneurysm in 7 days' time. Jet resolves to do with her final week of life to solve her own murder. What a setup. And the audiobook is 14 hours long and narrated by Alex McKenna. Very well narrated, by the way. At the time of recording this, it's only available on Audible. But today I'm reviewing this book with regular contributor Sara Hillis. Sara, based on my enthusiasm in that intro, you can probably already tell that I liked it despite it feeling like YA, even though it's technically not YA. We'll get into that. But I want to know your thoughts. Like, what are your opening remarks on this one?
First of all, of course, how could you not love that premise of,
Banger.
knowing you've got a limited time and deciding to try to do something with it. This is a portrait of a woman who, like many of us at 27, I would say, I was kind of one of these people, hadn't done a whole lot with her life. Her mother kept reproaching her for it. And she wants to sort of use this time to finally solve her murder, to do something worthwhile kind of thing. And not to say, I'll do it later, right? And so that's it's really deep character motivation there. I think that's really cool.
It makes a lot of sense for Jet to want to do this because she has the opportunity to have a surgery right after the attack to basically attempt to prevent the aneurysm. But she says no. Like, the odds were really low that it would work, but she decided, like, I will basically take the guaranteed death than a very high chance of dying, like, right now, just so she could do something with her remaining time. And she's a law school dropout, has been a bit of a low achiever for most of her life. And this is like her opportunity to do something with it. And in terms of like the structure of the book, like beyond the hook, what do potential listeners need to know about this if they're interested?
Let's see, what can I say? They need to know that there's a lot of swearing in it. It's told from Jet's point of view, and it's told like sort of via her own thinking. And so it's told as she would think it. And so she thinks in swear words, she talks in swear words. So if those get annoying, like F-bombs or things like that, if that gets annoying to you, you might not want to read it. But at the same time, it's sort of true to life in some ways. There are some people that actually do think this way. I know some of them. So, the structure of the book is very, what can I say? Like, I like the opening part. That's Halloween. It's kind of I was like, why didn't they release this in October?
Yeah. Great opener. Oh, that's a good point.
I'm sure there's publishers' reasons why, but anyway, there always are. But so it has, and it has this really good foreshadowing technique where she's dressed as a zombie at Halloween. And I think that's really fun. Like, that's just fun and silly and great. And there is some violence in the book that's very stark, I guess. Not only her attack, but just some other things. So if you know, if you're good with that, great. If you're not, you might not enjoy it. It's not psychotic violence in quite the way that, you know, a serial killer book might be or something, but it's you know, there's stuff in there. But mostly it's a romp. In a lot of ways it's a romp with serious parts. Uh
A romp.
a romp,
What
an
do you mean a romp?
adventurous romp, right? Like Jet kind of turns this I'm going to die in 7 days into like her superpower for a while, and kind of becomes the superhero running around doing crazy things that we would normally do as morally conscious humans, um, because she doesn't have any consequences, and she's got this great sidekick, her childhood best friend called Billy. So if you like those kind of partner stories, I think you'd love this book. Like there's just, yeah, it's good. It's most of it is scenes and dialogue, not a whole huge ton of like page and a half descriptions of stuff. So it moves pretty
No.
fast, which is good.
It's a very modern book in
Yeah,
that sense. It's very dialogue heavy. It moves pretty fast. It reads like a
yeah,
Netflix TV show, which makes sense because Holly Jackson's already written a
yeah.
Netflix TV show with Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Jet, if you haven't picked up on it yet, is kind of a bonkers character,
It's awful.
and I love her for it. If she had a D&D alignment, she would be
Yeah,
chaotic neutral because, like you mentioned, because she knows that she's going to die in 7 days, it kind of gives her the superpower because they're like, oh, we're going to call the police. And she's like, what are you going to do? Throw me in jail? I don't care. Like, I'm going to die. What are
not
you going to do
chaotic
about
good.
it? Or like, she doesn't care.
I think chaotic good. Come on,
Good for herself,
maybe
maybe,
she loves her
I
dog.
suppose. I mean, if she didn't like her dog, she'd be chaotic
Okay,
evil.
all right.
But yeah, that aspect of the book was done really well because it would have been frustrated. It would have been frustrating if that wasn't explored that way. And you are reminded constantly that this is a ticking clock thriller. And it's very much against the clock, which makes it so much more of a page turner because you know it's the turnaround is really tight. And by the time you get to like halfway through the book, there's like a day left.
Yeah,
It all progresses pretty fast. Billy, if you've read the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, Billy is basically Ravi, the sidekick character that's sort of there. The only difference is Billy has more agency and is way less of a simp than Ravi. At least Billy helps much more than Ravi. He has much more agency. He's a much better developed character. And I think that's a sign of growth from Holly Jackson because Ravi drove me crazy in the original series.
yeah. I wasn't sure if Billy would get, you know, tougher. But yeah, he certainly does have agency in the plot. If he didn't do certain things when they happen in the story, that kind of stuff. So yeah,
And what are the ways that the series is similar? What are the ways that Not Quite Dead Yet is similar to the Good Girls Guide to Murder series? Is that there's this thing where evidence is presented, and then there's a whole like internal monologue or dialogue that Jet has with Billy to sort of like, okay, let's take a step back and see what evidence we have. And like, what can we make of this so far? What's our next step? Okay, let's act on the next step. And then they go somewhere and then find more evidence and rinse and repeat. There's sort of like this cycle, this formula that's really satisfying, kind of predictable, but
yeah.
satisfying.
It's Nancy
One
Drew
thing,
or Hardy Boys. Like it's exactly coming from that.
oh,
Yeah,
100%. That's why I say it's nothing revolutionary, but it is tightly plotted and entertaining
yeah,
as hell. Because I'd say Holly Jackson does a really good job with the mystery aspect of this book because she is, and I don't know if you were getting fooled as much as I was. I'm not good at solving mysteries like this, but who I thought was the most suspicious changed
yeah.
10 times. I had like 10 suspects. And she does a really good job at setting these red
Yeah,
herrings.
she's good at teasing you with little hints about stuff that don't seem to mean anything, and then later they absolutely mean everything. Like as time goes on, so she's good at that. She's good at yeah, again the red herrings. Like who would be the the most likely person. Well, that person had the right wig on at the fair, but then they weren't there at the right time, that kind of stuff. Like, and then, yeah.
There's a lot of evidence and details to unpack and to sort of question, and everything ends up being tied up neatly in the end. It's quite satisfying. But speaking of the ending,
neatly.
without spoiling anything, what did you do? You disagree? It wasn't tied up neatly?
Kind of grossly, well, really. No, it was not fair. Like that everyone gets thrown in jail and everything's good. Like it's a strange ending, and it's a cool ending. And
how so? What do you mean?
So, vigilante justice happens, and yeah, it's kind of odd. Like it's good. It's good. It's a good book ending, but it's not like in a detective story they'd take him away in handcuffs and put him in jail. In some of those ones, like in some of those like old Agatha Christie type ones, that they were ended like that. Like the morally reprehensible person gets punished by the ethical law. That sort of thing. And in this, because it's our times, that's not how it happens. And yeah, it's I sort of, I don't know what not to spoil here or how not to spoil this, but I mean, Jet does die. We know this. That doesn't change. I was kind of scared there'd be a weird
you
way
can tell
that
right away
that it would change. I was like,
no, Jet
she
dies.
hit her head
Absolutely.
in just such a way that the aneurysm went away or something, I was scared.
She hits her head again and it fixes it.
I was like, I know it was. I knew it wasn't going to, but I was like, oh God, please don't make this just. Oh, it was all we made a mistake on the X-rays or something.
I would have hated that. Oh my God.
So it ends satisfyingly in that regard, if you call that satisfying. I mean, it's plausible. Yeah, the little evidence all gets tied up. You're right about that. We know exactly who did it and why.
It's an ending that's a bit chaotic and kind of like the premise itself. It wraps up in a very over-the-top way.
Yeah.
It turns out that so many people are a sketch. In investigating all of these potential suspects, like a lot of dirt is dug up. And you realize like, oh my God, like every second person they investigate is like really sketch in some sort of way. And that all ends up tying into the ultimate reveal of who actually killed Jet. And if you look back on it, like after you finish this book, you'd be like, this town is messed up. Like, who is normal in this town? That's crazy.
Who is normal in any town, Jacob? Come on. There are secrets
normalcy
locked
is
behind
an illusion.
those picket fences.
What did you think of Holly Jackson's writing style? Because we've alluded to this technically not being YA, but it reads like YA. Like, why is that?
Something about the dialogue for me just rings really teenagery. Mm-hmm. I think it's the over the top. I mean, obviously it's a very emotional situation, but somehow the over the top nature of how the characters all talk to each other, like the parents are the most parenty parents ever. Which is what happens in YA, right? The parents are like, they're the
100%.
most parenty parents, right? Like, they have to say parental things, and just Jet's like ridiculously sarcastic, amazingly funny, rejoinders
Immature.
and stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, I can be snarky as an ex-person, but like, it was just so like. Don't you understand? I'm going to die in a week. Like, it's very teenager. It's very, like, I'm the center of the whole world kind of deal, which just seems so very much like when you're a teenager, that's what you kind of think. You're like, oh my God, I'm going through all these emotional things. Why don't people understand? Right?
Yeah. Jet is 27, but her internal monologue and her dialogue that she has with other characters sounds very teenagery. But I think that's just part of her characterization in a sense. Like, she just kind of comes off like she's written purposely immature, which makes her... Listen, if I knew Jet in person, she would drive me crazy. But she's a fascinating character, really interesting, like a main character. And her dynamic with Billy is also very teenagery. especially how they sort of develop a kind of like mutual respect / love,
Yeah.
maybe one way. It's complicated. That actually, the love story between Jet and Billy is done very well. I'm not going to get too into
Yeah,
it.
it's really nice.
But
I
I
like
appreciated
Yeah.
it.
But again, I'm sorry, it's a YA love story.
Yeah,
So
super YA. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like, you know it when you
it's like
see
totally
it.
like
I don't know
it's-
what else to say. It just feels
it's
like
Fault
YA.
in Our Stars with F-bombs.
This is not The Fault in Our Stars with F-bombs. It has a lot of F-bombs.
No, those guys were too like ridiculously intellectual. Those people in Fault in Our Stars, but yeah, no, it's a strange. I liked the book, but I don't know what I thought I was gonna get, and it did. It sounded the way you had described some Holly Jackson to me. I was like, okay, so it's still Holly Jackson. We know that. And yeah, some of the writing. So there's a lot of repetition of like descriptive elements. Some of which are thematic, which is cool, and some of which are just like, why did you say that for the 5th time in a row about someone breathing in and filling themselves with the air or something? Like, why'd you do that? I don't understand. Or why do you have to talk about the saliva as someone opens their mouth? The saliva sort of hanging from their teeth and stuff. I'm like, what? Like,
describing like saliva as stalactites, like it's really quite strange. There are some weird descriptions in here, but I mean, I kind of give an author a pass on this once in a while because I mean, a book is huge. I think this thing is like over 80,000 words.
Oh,
no, it's like 90,000 words. That's a lot. That's a lot of description. This is true. That's not huge. It's a 14-hour audiobook. That's a pretty average, probably short to medium long book. But my point is like when you write a lot of description like that, you're bound to write some slightly repetitive stuff. I think it gets egregious when you pick up on it. And it's like, you can always like predict the way things are going to get described. I mentioned the audiobook is 14 hours. It was narrated by Alex McKenna, which I thought was an intriguing performance. I want to be careful with how I say this. Alex McKenna has an interesting voice, like not your typical narrator voice.
No, but
she's a fantastic actor, but it does work for this story. Like I can so picture Jet having her voice. Her voice is so much vocal for she sounded like she was just like 10 hours into a session during the entire book. Not necessarily in a bad way. She sounded like almost exhausted, but obviously Jet would be exhausted. Like it kind of worked in a strange way.
I think it's just the way her voice happens to be. Some people's voices are more,
it's wild.
I guess, raspy or I mean,
distinctive.
like I mean, and Jet's voice is described as like gravelly and sort of deeper than like some other people's voices in the book. So like the women especially, I did find Alex's I should say other women to be almost ridiculously too much. Except the mom was supposed to be I guess they're supposed to be annoying. That's the problem. Like the mom and her sister-in-law and then Jet's sister-in-laws are just supposed to be the most annoying people in the world. So, and from Jet's point of view. So I guess making them sound the way she did makes sense. But like the mom, I can't even understand the mom. Like, you should take this surgery, which has a 10% chance of success. Like, what? Like, 10%?
She's infuriating for that and so many other reasons. And I know that Alex McKenna read the book before narrating this because when she started narrating Jet's mom, she gave her the most like annoying whiny voice, this like airhead. Like you can just tell the character is sort of like meant to be maybe a bit unstable and daft. It's really funny. But the voice she does for Billy kind of annoyed me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because she kind of gave Billy a big dum-dum voice. like a teenage boy who has like the craziest
He's
cracking voice, and it just gave me this image of Billy as like this like sniveling little dweeb, which he is not. This sniveling little
no,
dweeb. It's
he
it's pretty
sound.
funny.
She made him sound a bit like is it Bobby Hill, Hank's kid on King of the
Oh my
Hill,
god, that's
right?
so accurate. Bobby Bobby Hill.
That's his name. Yeah.
That's too accurate. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Anyways, I felt that the book overall was such an easy read, like very accessible. The plot is easy to follow. She does a really good job at like subtly reminding you what the stakes
Hmm.
are, where we are at a given time. And while the book is quite maybe a little bit like kitschy, like kind of campy at times in an entertaining way, it finishes with a surprising amount of
Yeah.
heart, which I didn't expect but really appreciated. And it's really good start and end to this book. Like it felt like a fully complete holistic work, which is not something I can say about most books. I'm genuinely really impressed with this book. Like I gave it 4 stars on
Yeah,
Goodreads.
that's what I did too. I laughed out loud at so many points. I didn't actually cry because I don't tend to at books, but the emotions were there. There were times when I was like, "Oh man," like, and I got angry and like I followed Jet and was kind of like, "Yeah, Jet, smash up that concrete with the sledgehammer. Go ahead."
Yeah, yeah, I
Part of me
was
was
right there
like, "Now,
with her.
Jet, do you really want to do that?" But most of me was like, "Yeah, let's go see if that phone is in there or whatever she was doing." Right? Like, and the action sequences were quite well done. I thought they were quick, they were urgent. There's a fire at one point, and I thought that was described very, very like well, and you could feel yourself, getting smoke in your mouth and being burnt by cinders and stuff. And so the settings were done well. I mean, it was pretty ordinary, I suppose, in some ways. Like, oh look, it's a small town in America. I didn't know Holly Jackson is British, so
Okay, this is an interesting bit of publishing lore here. So, for her books and a lot of other books, this is the case for Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Not Quite Dead Yet. There's a UK version and a US version. Now, it's not just like a publishing thing, it's not, or just a punctuation and spelling thing. They actually changed the setting in the UK version. This book takes place in a small town in England.
oh
In the American version, it takes place in Woodstock, somewhere in the Northeast or
yeah,
something like that.
Vermont.
Same thing for Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And they changed some expressions and even some character traits and stuff like that to make it more palatable for the US or UK
Well, okay,
American,
this is the whole
respectively.
problem then. I need to read the UK version because maybe it will make more sense.
Did you think
No,
things
no,
didn't make sense? Like
no, it
now
was more
knowing
like,
this?
oh, look, it's an American story about American people doing American things. It might as well be in the 80s, but it's in 2025. I don't know. There was something forced about the whole thing, and I didn't understand what it was. But if some publisher person said, oh, let's just change all these things around and make an American version, well, that's probably why.
I've heard
It bugs
exactly
me.
this sentiment like repeated online. People have said that the UK version is better, at least for Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I haven't seen that comment made about this book, but people felt like the characters felt more true to themselves. And for Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I've seen some people say that some characters in the US version kind of did some British y things or like had British y expressions that just like kind of felt out of place. Like they didn't go all the way in Americanizing it. And I didn't really pick that up
Uh,
in Not Quite Dead Yet. I thought it was convincingly
Actually, a
American. I don't know
couple
if you
things I did,
disagree.
like write the way down and write the way through, and it was lost out
Yeah,
the
that's
hole
true.
in her head. Out the hole, not out of, but we would say out of the hole in her head, and Brits often say out the hole in her head or out the thing. So there
That's
are a
so
little bit
true.
of that. Now,
Yeah.
and that makes now. See, I didn't even know. I should have done my research. I'm a bad contributor, Jacob. I'm very sorry about this, but I had no idea who Holly Jackson was until I was asked to do this book. So there you go.
It was the British version of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder that got made into a Netflix season of television. I will bet all my life savings that Not Quite Dead Yet is also going to get picked up by Netflix for another TV show series, because I know that Good Girl's Guide to Murder was quite successful as well. But more than anything, Not Quite Dead Yet just reads like a Netflix series like nothing else, because of the fact that there are a lot of cliffhangers and tons of dialogue, very few sections of extended internal monologue or exposition or anything like that. It just reads like a script. It's begging to be made into a TV show, and I'm all here for it because it deserves it. I'm a fan of this book. I'm a fan of Holly Jackson. Final thoughts, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I could hear all the little music of the, driving around town or stuff. You could hear music in the background that could totally be Netflix music. I don't know. It's just cool. No, I really thought it was a fun book. And thanks for getting me to learn about Holly Jackson.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you liked it. It was the first time you read one of my recommendations. I was kind of nervous. It's always a little nerve-wracking to recommend a book to a friend. Have a good one, Sarah. We'll have you on again sometime soon.
Yeah.
That was regular contributor Sara Hillis. We were reviewing Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. That audiobook is available on Audible, and it's about 14 and a half hours long, narrated by Alex McKenna. That's all the time we have for this edition of AMI Audiobook Review. The show airs weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern on AMI Audio and repeats every 6 hours, and we're available on all your favorite podcast platforms. I'm Jacob Shymanski. Happy listening.